Hey guys, it's Ron here from Quadrysteria, and today I want to show you the new frame that we just released called Crossbones. And I'm going to do a quick assembly video too, so you know how it goes together, which will help point out some unique features. I'm not going to do a full build video, I'm not going to do soldering, but I want you to see how the components fit. This frame is a result of a lot of collaboration with my team pilots. The Quadrysteria Team Pilots now have like a year and a half of racing on the regional circuits and some national circuits, plus thousands of hours of hard freestyle, free riding that my team pilots are really into. And so a lot of their feedback is into this frame, and what we came up with is it's a pod-like frame, but it still allows you to mount GoPro on the top or do a top mount battery. So you have the option of a top mount battery or bottom mount battery, yet still be able to put a GoPro on here. So that's, I guess, the kind of overall general result. But you can see some of the unique features are just how narrow the profile of the arms are. And to make up for that narrowness in strength, we've gone with a 5mm arm, and that keeps these really strong. You can see there's little custom foam landing pads, and the arms are held on by 2 titanium alloy screws each arm, but also the arms abut. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, really close together at the center. That keeps everything very strong. These arms are independently removable. The big holes here are for the nylon screw for the stack of your electronics. So that nylon screw passes through the arm, so it's not going to be something that gets in the way of removing an arm. Also, when you assemble this, there are embedded press nuts in the body, so that the center arms, those center screws for the arms go right into the press nuts, which are underneath the electronic stack, so you won't be fiddling with, you know, a nut driver to try to get your arms on and off. And then the outside 4 screws just go into these standoffs. So to remove an arm, you would just, you know, take two screws out, and take the other screw out just for demonstration purposes. And that arm just slides out like that for replacement. Now, like with all the Quadrysteria frames, you know, the kit comes with some extras. It's going to come with the battery strap, sticky-sided Velcro for your battery, and an XT60 connector. As well as this cool little sticker, the Crossbones sticker. And if you buy the bundle, you know, as we always do, we supply all the best parts that goes with the frame. One thing we're going to do unique and different on this frame is now we're starting to see pretty darn reliable 4-in-1 ESCs come out. And so if you buy the bundle, you're going to get the Cicada 30 amp 4-in-1. And you're going to get the Furious FPV flight controller, which has a built-in PDB. So the stack really only needs to be those 2 boards, because you got on the Combini flight controller from Furious FPV, it has both a 5-volt and a 12-volt output to feed your cameras, which includes an LC filter built in. So it's going to be filtered clean power for your FPV system. And that's the basic idea. And then, you know, you're just going to have your motors right on the arms going straight over the three wires are going to come straight into the Cicada. So I don't know if you can see if you guys have seen the Cicada, but you know, it's labeled motor 1, 3, 2, 4, something like that. I don't know if I'm seeing, that's 4, that's 1. Anyway, all you have to do is run power between like what I plan to do is put the XT60 on the end of this and have a bottom mount battery, and then run the kit, the bundle. If you get the bundle, will come with some extra wire, and you just need to run a very short pair of wires from the power coming in here to the power onto your flight controller. And the Combini can take, I think it's up to 5S directly. So that's pretty cool. And then the bundle's also going to have the new triple crane style 5051 racecraft props, Lost Bird buzzer, all that kind of stuff. So with that, let me jump into it, and I'm going to show you how this is assembled. Okay guys, so I'm about to get started here, but just before I get into the assembly, there was a couple things I forgot to mention. And the Crossbones is a 210 diagonal motor to motor, so it is a 5-inch quad true X, and the weight is 88 grams. I do offer 4mm arms to, you save a few grams by going that instead of 5mm. So in addition, every kit comes with the exploded assembly schematic, so you can see kind of, if you get confused, where things go. But I'm not going to be following that today. I'm just going to show you how stuff goes together. So here's a layout of all the parts. Your kit will come without the foam pads on, but I've already attached my foam pads. Another thing I forgot to show you and mention is that the kit will come with these zip ties and heat shrink for routing your receiver antenna. So there's let me identify the parts. Okay, so this is the top plate. It has the cool pocket engraved skull and crossbones on it, the FPV goggles. So top plate, the one with the press screws, is mid plate. And the small one with the holes is the bottom plate. These are all 2mm. And the bottom plate goes on the bottom of the arms. The mid plate goes on top of the arms. And then here's the hardware pack. 30mm aluminum standoffs separate the top plate and the mid plate. And then for the rear, we have the SMA antenna port and 2 camera mounts for your FPV camera, and these swivel holes are lined up for a Fox Ear arrow. So you could take advantage of, I don't have the dual screw case on here, but you could take advantage of that with the dual screw case. The antenna routing you can either put on the top plate or the mid plate, and these holes right here are intended for that purpose. You can use the slot for zip tie, or there's actually, if you prefer the straw style, there's a little bit of a hole there too, round hole for that style. So what I'm going to do is jump into the way that I would put this kit together. This is the nylon hardware packet for your electronics, and I would actually start with that and build up the electronics. You can build it just right straight on the mid plate, and then the mid plate, the flat part of the mid plate goes down against the arms underneath. So the press-in screws, or sorry, nuts, press-in nuts, they protrude just a little bit, but the nylon nuts are tall enough to keep your electronics away from that. Now, if you're concerned about contact, because you don't want contact with these press-in nuts, you could go with 2 nuts there, or you could just cover this up with electrical tape. But for what I'm doing today, I'm planning on stacking the ESCs first, followed by the flight controller second. So I'm going to get started with that. I'm going to have the power come off the back. So let's get all the hardware out. So the inner 4 holes are for the electronic stack. So I'm just gonna put one nut on there. Just two. Now if I take a look at the bottom side of the Cicada, it sticks out less than the top side. So I'm going to put this side down. And I don't know if you can see in the camera, the heat shrink covers up the holes a little bit, so I'm going to need to clean those out. I'm just going to test fit with the two just to make sure I got clearance. Go this way. Yep, and there is clearance away from those nuts, so we're good. And this is insulated with heat shrink as well, so go ahead and put those other two nylon screws through. This is the rear, this is the front for the camera, so we can go on just like that. And this is the Combini flight controller. This is battery in. We need power coming in here, so we can either, let's see, we're going to want to split off that wire there. So I probably splice in, so if you get the bundle, it comes with this extra silicone wrap, wire with heat shrink. It's pretty much just right off here. The other thing you could do is solder in off the sides of this and come out kind of like a, so basically come out like a little V out the sides, like that's probably how I'd end up doing it. So your wires would come out just like this a little bit, this direction, and then loop up onto the pads of the Combini. Alright, so we're going to put, we got to separate off this with two nuts to make clearance for the Combini. It has a big voltage regulator on bottom. So okay. Okay, then the last four screws to hold down the flight controller, last four nuts, excuse me. Okay, so there we got our electronic stack, and even at this point, you could start working on where your FPV gear to go in there. But first, I'm going to move on to the rest of the frame assembly. Okay, so the next thing I would do is put the standoffs on the top plate, so you could kind of see where things fit there. The hardware pack, and in here we have our 30mm standoffs. We got anodized red aluminum, and the silver cobalt looking screws are the titanium alloy, and those are for going in through the bottom plate for the arms. So separate those out, the silvery ones from the red ones. The red ones for the top plate, we got 6 of them. Should have 6 standoffs. So simply just go in Okay, and the last two anodized red aluminum screws go underneath the front nose. So here we can just put this on here and see just how much room we've got left for. I plan on putting my receiver here. And depending on how big your video transmitter is, you may want to put your video transmitter there. I'm going to use a Hawkeye, which is really small, and the Hawkeye will fit like underneath here. So I'll probably put my Hawkeye here, maybe down here if I can get it underneath these wires. And then the pigtail will come out the back here. So let me just do a trial fit of some of this stuff right now. So we got video transmitter. Take the nut off here. So we're gonna have the video transmitters gonna go down in here somewhere. We've got a receiver is gonna go up on top of this stack here, and I'm gonna have the antennas come out these two holes here. We're just gonna kind of see, you know, what we got before we go too much further forward, just to get a general idea. Yeah. And I'll probably have my battery wires come out here like that, because I'm going to do bottom mount battery. Okay. All right. So I'm going to move on to putting on the arms on the bottom. Okay. So now once you're to this point on the bottom plate, I'm going to go ahead and put the arms on here and put the center screws in. So I'm just gonna lay these in here like so. Try to hold them in there. This part's a little tricky holding them in all together, but they fit really tight in a butt to one another, so it's not too hard. Now I'm gonna do a cross mount battery, so I'm putting my battery straps nose to tail. So my battery will go like that. If you want more of a typical battery to mount in the direction of flight, then you want to rotate your battery straps to the sides. So I am going to put these 4 center screws in, which are the short ones. The short ones go in the center, and the long ones go on the outside, which will go into these standoffs. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm not going to fully snug these up, but I'm going to tighten them a little. And then the 4 longer titanium screws are received by the standoffs on top. So go ahead and put those there. And go ahead and slide that through. I have to wiggle the arms just a little bit to line up to the holes, and there we see it comes all the way up through. So I'll go ahead and get these lined up. That one was already nicely aligned, and they're all lined up because it's such a tight fit here in the center with the arms. They can't be off by too much. So come over here like this, and we're just going to screw those into the standoffs. Okay, arms are on, titanium alloy. Okay, now that we got all the titanium screws in through the arms, I'm going to remove the top plate, which helped align these standoffs, so that I can put in the vertical plates. Okay, now when I do the camera mounts on all of these Quadrysteria frames, this is similar with the Rush, it's a lot easier to put the plates on the camera and then put the whole assembly in. Much easier. So that's what I will do here. This Fox Ear arrow with a 2.1 millimeter lens. And tighten up the camera later. Now this is for the VTX in the back. And there we go. Pretty snug with an arrow. Now, what I wanted to show you is the zip ties for the video or for your radio receiver. So what I have here is an X4R SB, and I'm going to use S-Bus. So you can route your antenna wire. Two antenna wires. And then the zip tie goes in behind the slot. That is. So go that direction. And then the heat shrink's going to come down over like this. Tighten that up a little bit more. Yeah, and then you cut the excess off. VTX. I'm going to use the center hole. VTX in. Now with the Hawkeye, you have a little excess pigtail on this kind of a build, so you might have to double it around once. But if you have one of the Fox Ear transmitters, you won't. It has a shorter wire. You don't have to worry about that. Put a TVS Triumph on here. She's ready to fly just about, right? Haha. So that was the abbreviated cheating build without soldering stuff. And then I would put the XT60 connector here, have my battery here, wires are all out of the way. And that's pretty much it, guys. So thanks for watching.